Hey people, hope you're all doing great today and ting and ting and ting. And we're gonna watch this video here, and especially for you. Uh, this one is called the Gaels of Cape Breton. I do believe this is in Nova Scotia, the SI, you know what I mean, by Canada way and thing. And this one was suggested to me by, and I hope I get this person's name right. It's Lachian MacLeod. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you told me that I would find this very interesting, and other people who like the history of Canada, history of the world, would find this interesting. So let's YouTube and simmer and see what the Gaels of Breton is all about. The first time I saw a bagpipe in person was one time during the Queen's birthday. We used to have on the island, being a former colony, we used to celebrate the Queen's birthday. And I remember the first time I saw bagpipes and people dressed in kilts, I was a wee lad. And there was a regiment of that came there, and they had a section of bagpipes, and they marched, a parade for the Queen's birthday. My introduction to bagpipes in person. It's beautiful.
Wherever the pipes play across the world, men and women of Scottish race will be there to hear their music. From Highland Glen and Island Shield, from lowland plains and border hills, this people has gone forth to find homes in other lands. Canada in particular has given sanctuary to many thousands of Scots, and their proud spirit has left its mark upon each of her 9 provinces. In the Highlands of Cape Breton, Scottish settlers found scenes that recalled to them their own beloved homeland.
But see, they migrated, and they seem to have found a land that's similar to where they come from. Highlands, there's the sheep, you know what I mean? Relatively green, And and that's the thing about being an immigrant. Of course, or migrant, whatever you want to call them. Of course, when you come from the Caribbean, you can move to Florida or something like that and be in similar conditions, but a lot of people seem to move to like New York and the big cities like that. So in essence, they didn't find the geography that's similar to where they come from, but they create neighborhoods in those places. Like in New York, you'd find a whole lot of people from the Caribbean in Brooklyn, and they maintain the culture there. You see the calypso there, the reggae there, and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? Thing, and so that gives them some sense of similarity because they kept the culture, even though they didn't keep the landscape. And this here, they seem to have found a place sort of similar to where they're from as far as the aesthetics is concerned.
There is an old Gaelic saying which translated runs, "A Gael's breeding place is on the summit." Crafts and cottages were set high on the hills and far apart. For a deep enjoyment of solitude is as vital a part of Scottish character as is generous hospitality and friendship. Marking
Okay, I have to ask, was this English, is this English they're speaking, or is it some old Gaelic language? No, I'm not understanding what they're saying there at all. You know what I mean? I'm not, no, I have no clue.
The Reverend Norman MacLeod was the founder of one of the most distinctively Gaelic settlements in Nova Scotia. In 1817, he led a large band of followers westwards to the New World. Back in Scotland, MacLeod had seen the people go hungry and hopeless. He disagreed also with what he considered the reactionary spirit of the church. Following 3 hard years on the mainland, the immigrants once more set sail in a vessel well named the Ark, and built by themselves. It was intended that their voyage should take them eventually to Ohio. A storm, however, drove them from their course, and after many days battling against the elements, the ship was finally forced to take shelter in St. Anne's Harbour on the west coast of Cape Breton. The only Gaelic college in the world now stands near to the place where the first immigrants landed. Founded in 1939, it aims at keeping alive the culture and crafts so dear to Highlanders and Lowlanders alike. Education has always been highly prized by the Scots, and a school was the first building they erected. This great reverence for learning persists down to the present day. The older people never returned to the land of their birth, but set their roots deep into the soil of freedom, to which they believed Providence had guided them.
Now, the good thing about immigrating is the freedom to uphold a culture. So, you know, I wonder if at some point assimilation into the new culture that they come, depending on how close they are to other people who live in that culture, or do they somehow maintain their own culture for centuries and centuries? Of course, at some point, with man growing so fast, you know, infringement on their area would sort of cause a dilution of their culture into the other culture. But, you know, more than likely you could still find remnants of their own culture within the culture that evolved from where they were. And you could see that in America here, you know, because certain things people try to say it's strictly American. If you do some research, it comes from another culture because this is a country of immigrants. So things that people think is originated here wasn't originated here. It's just something that down the line people knew and passed on, and over the centuries or over the years, it just became a part of that culture, and people claim it as their own. You know what I mean? That's why everybody thinks something is original, and it's not really original. Somebody else already thought about it. We just don't know. There are cultures that became extinct that possibly did things that we're doing now that we think is something new. It's just new to us. They knew it back then. Unfortunately, and sometimes fortunately, we are creatures of repetition. The old becomes new, and the new becomes old so that new could take over again. You know, just the same idea is being recycled. A perfect case of that there is like the helicopter. I read somewhere that Da Vinci had a drawing of a helicopter way before the time helicopters were envisioned. So the idea is not new. If that statement is right, the idea is not new. The execution of it is new. The idea is not new.
Living among the lonely farms are many who have heard their grandparents tell of adventures experienced by the early settlers as well as of the daring exploits of other Scots in Canada. The wild skill of the pipes and the drifts across the hills recalls to them tales of Highland regiments who landed with Wolfe at Quebec, stories of explorers like Simon Fraser and Alexander Mackenzie, whose discoveries charted a highway across the continent, and the romantic record of Scottish merchants who did so much to make Montreal the great commercial capital of the Dominion. Until the first church was built, communion services were held out of doors. Soon, however, church spires rose among the hills, symbols of a dearly won freedom to worship God as they deemed best. The churches became the center of a vigorous, if plain, form of worship.
Agus na le jamamúir I sein, ach súd sein ó nó. Or is less a ríir, agus an ghuas, agus a glór na siiri. Amen. Is na sein upon clún tíarna, for an díl cholam had is a meeting. Is a díl pain a spúr a yom, for me am you.
Singing of the metrical version of the psalm, the custom being for the congregation to repeat each line after him, a practice which grew out of the illiteracy of sound and the dearth of hymn books of the time.
Out of necessity, that ritual was implemented. Later on, some people probably thought it was just some kind of a, spiritual thing that people did because of the religion, not taking into consideration the practicality of why it was implemented. Years from now, people are going to think, or years from then, people probably thought, hey, wow, you know what I mean? This is the way it was done in the olden times, so this is why this practice is being used. Strange how history just rolls on. One question though, where's the young people? I don't see any young people in this video, at least at this section of the video. I haven't seen any young people yet.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. As in Scotland, so now in New Scotland, sheep farming became an integral part of the crofter's life, and hundreds of small flocks wandered freely over the hills. Oh, bid them never tie them there with wicked strings of hemp or hair, but call them out to park or hill, and let them wander at their will. So may his flock increase and grow to scores of lambs and packs of wolves. And may they never learn the gates of inner vile wan rest for pets, to slink through slabs and reeve and steal, and stacks of peas or stalks of kale. So may they, like their great forebears, for many a year come through the shears. So wise will be them bits of bread, and bairns greet for them when they're dead. The fleece from each year's shearing requires to be carefully washed before being spun into yarn. For this the women bring kettles and tubs to the banks of a stream, where there will be plenty of water for rinsing.
Now I'm old enough to remember going down to the river and washing clothes and thing. Those were good days, man. People are singing and beating their clothes on the rocks and stuff. That's not what she's doing here. I understand that, but that's what sort of jog that memory there. You know, you go down to the river, which is pretty much a stream there, crystal clear waters. You have your rock soap and then you beat it on the rock and thing. That's what this reminds me of.
The wool must be spun and woven into cloth, and then there still remains the milling. For this, neighbors gather round a rough table of planks, and as they pass the damp cloth from hand to hand, thumping it on the boards to shrink and soften it, the traditional milling songs are sung. With their folklore, the Gaelic people have brought to Canada the finest traditions of the Scottish clan. Their strength and valor, rectitude and godliness, warm hearts and wise heads have all helped to build well our great dominion.
See, before that's why community was a big thing back then. It's not. Well, at least where I am. I don't know how it is where you guys are. Where I am, community is not a big thing because the communities don't get together like they do then. You know what I mean? Here they get together, but you gotta have money to do that get together. You gotta, everything's gotta be grand, and even if you're poor, you know what I mean? You go to the house for Thanksgiving, it's a big thing. But this is community vibe, you know what I mean? It's not just a family doing a chore, you know what I mean? It seems like everybody is involved. And this looked like a pretty old video too, probably 60s, maybe 70s, judging by the dress or that they're wearing or the clothes that they're wearing. But, that's what I'm seeing here with this group of people who came from Scotland to Canada. Okay, this was quite interesting. Thank you, Lachayan. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you for sharing this video here with me. Now, I wonder how many of these customs have survived to this year times of great technology and all of that. I would love to do some more research and see how these people are doing, how much of their culture in that region have survived. How many have been diluted because the younger generation is probably going to acclimate more to the surroundings that they're in right now, especially with a big city close by. If there is, they're going to go congregate with those people in those big cities, and whatever they learn, they're going to bring back home, especially for higher education and stuff like that. But anyway, man, I enjoyed this. Thank you again for suggesting this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. This is something I've never known about, so now I know something new about Canada. Intriguing place, I tell you. I'll leave links in the description to this video, and I'll also leave links of other videos pertaining to the diverse life of Canada and history of Canada. Y'all take care of each other, all right? Cool runnings.